Welcome to the latest of my deep dive videos. Today I'm going to explore Neptune going direct on the 7th of December after a 5-month retrograde. What's the significance of that? It's really important, I feel. In fact, I feel that Neptune is a very underestimated planet. We see a lot of attention on Saturn and Pluto, but I'm going to then share with you what we can expect with Neptune moving into the sign of Aries on March the 30th, 2025 for just under 8 months. That's huge because that's the start of a new 164-year cycle, which is how long it takes for Neptune to go right around the Zodiac. And of course, the sign of Aries is the beginning of the Zodiac, the precession of the animals. It's really exciting. It's going to be in Aries through to the 10th of December 25, before inverting back into Pisces, but then back into Aries for the long term on January the 26th, 2026. I'm astrologer Patrick Arundel. Thank you so much for joining me. Neptune's the planet of dreams, but it can be the planet of illusion. What is the significance of it going direct? Why, through the retrograde, have things been so tricky? In terms of energy, in terms of that sense of certainty that's been lacking for us all. But also the dramatic events of next year don't just see Neptune go into Aries. Of course, Saturn's going to go there too from May the 26th through to the end of August. And the two are going to align, linking back to Pluto in the Golden Triangle along with Uranus for 4 months from July the 7th. I'm going to go through all of this for you. I'm going to share with you the event chart for when Neptune moves into Aries, because that gives us an enormous amount of understanding and perspective. Also, Neptune and Pluto have been broadly in a sextile since 1940, but more recently through the signs of Pluto, Capricorn and Neptune, Pisces. In fact, Pisces has hosted Neptune since 2012. We've seen an explosion in all different types of escapism. Has that been good? Will Neptune moving into Aries be the start of a new epoch? Because Neptune can be about time, but non-linear time. So it's very much about the ethereal senses we have. Ironically, Saturn is very much about time. It is old father time. And the two are going to be aligning. So I'm going to go through that for you too. Then I'm going to share each of the 12 zodiac signs from Aries through to Pisces to give you a flavour of what this huge event represents for each of us in terms of your ascendant, sun or the moon. If you're new to my channel, thank you for joining us. This is a community. If you have any thoughts, please do share them. If you're a returning visitor, your company is hugely appreciated. If you've yet to subscribe to my channel, as I've mentioned, 50% of people who regularly tune in are not subscribers. Please send a great signal to YouTube. Click that sub button, but also the bell notification symbol, or like or share the video. Thank you. If you're a patron, thank you so much for all your support. You can download a Neptune factoid. Now, if you'd like to take advantage of my very unique year 2025 personal horoscope forecast, if you do so, you'll also get your free gift of your Zodiac General Love Chinese and Vedic written forecast, as well as your prediction for next year, totally based on your birth data. You'll also get your life roadmap report, critical to understand the patterns that have played out in your life so far. The forecast is very much about timing your moves. Timing's everything. It's essentially what astrology is about. You can get 30% off by clicking on the link below. If you prefer to have whole sign, you can choose that option. If you don't know your time, the solar option. Or if you'd like to go the spiritual soul route, you can choose the draconic option. please see, as I said, below. If you'd like to have a one-to-one with me directly, please check out my testimonials below. I don't edit these as they come in, I share as is. Please check out how other people are found working directly with me. So Neptune goes direct on the 7th of December at 27 degrees and 7. And when the retrograde began on the 2nd of July, it was on the anaretic point, so 29 degrees and 55 minutes. So right up, buffering towards the first degree of Aries anyway. So what has that meant for you? Well, if you are a mutable sign with late planets, so that would be late Gemini, that would be late Virgo, late Sagittarius, or late Pisces, you will have felt that keenly. Because Neptune, of course, can distort, but you may also have felt the energy if you're very early cardinal. So anything up to a couple of degrees of Aries, of Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn. Because that shimmering, mesmeric energy of Neptune can dissipate. So if you have your sun or your ascendant very late across all those mutable and cardinal signs, you may have felt that your physical vitality was somewhat lower. And what Neptune can do, if we imagine the coastal erosion that's going on, where the waves of the sea, and of course Neptune, very much the ruler of the sea, lash the coast and it erodes the land, the physical body. So Neptune can be a very diminishing and draining influence, but of course it can also help to expand our consciousness, particularly in the host sign of Pisces, because Pisces energy is limitless, and of course Neptune is the co-ruler along with the traditional ruler of Jupiter. So it's very much about really expanding our awareness, and that can be in a non-tangible way. So it can be where we sense things. It's not necessarily about the physical realm, but Neptune can definitely affect it. It's very much to do with intuition. So if you're someone who really understands that life isn't all about what we can physically prove or physically touch, you probably work with Neptune energies very well in your life. You may be someone who's very connected to animals, plant life, nature. You may be particularly intuitive. You may be someone who is a psychic, whether you do that professionally or not. You could also be someone who's very much involved in healing, because that can be to do with the non-tangible realm as well. You know, we often hear about scientists, you know, it's a bit of a pet theme for me. Scientists now know that their previous theory wasn't right, but they don't like it, the non-physical realm. They don't like it. They feel it's basically a load of nonsense. But the people who really can exchange energy in a very highly attuned way, those are the people really that can emerge as the leaders, not necessarily over the next couple of years when we're emerging from the crushing disappointment really of what's going on in the world in terms of the Saturn-Pluto conjunction in the sign of Capricorn, which has really seen people holding on to power so furiously that it has caused a lot of pain, a lot of suffering, and a lot of loss of human life, because they're not able to understand that it's not all about structures, it is about how we connect. And sometimes how we connect isn't necessarily particularly tangible. So why do we get that thing where somehow or another someone will come up in our mind and then we get a phone call or a text message from them? That happens to people all the time. Now, it won't be long before scientists start to understand this kind of stuff better. We're already seeing scientists talk more and more about what happens when people pass over but then come back. There's been a big study about that. So Neptune can be about all of those realms, but it certainly can be about the aforementioned healing, but we have to have the faith, and that's where the Jupiterian influence of Pisces is so important, to back up that superpower that Neptune can provide to us. So if you have been struggling with your vitality, or you have been feeling confused, or you have been a victim of deception, or you have found someone's message very compelling, and then you have found out after the event that they haven't delivered on what they've been saying, all of that's very Neptunian. Neptune for me is very much about the world we live in a way, because it's to do with images. Images are so powerful now. You know, whether it's filters people use on photographs, whether it's films, whether it's technology, you know, whether it's AI that creates avatars, it's all to do with an image. So whether it's through photography, video, film, our consciousness, our dreams, another area that's a huge vat of potential that's very much influenced by Neptune. But if you have been feeling through the retrograde since the 2nd of July, very, very drained, very dispirited, a sense of hope has been hard to come by. If you've had some mysterious ailments that you can't seem to figure out what's going on, all of that can be to do with Neptune retrograde. So Neptune going direct is something to really celebrate. And as I say, I don't feel that Neptune gets enough profile in terms of the power that it holds. Let's also think about Neptune in terms of symbolism, because the trident is the same as the icon, which is the guiding influence in terms of imagery of the nation of Ukraine. Ukraine has gone through a terrible time, but particularly over the last 5 months, when support was delayed, you know, the physical support, whether it was in terms of humanitarian aid or military aid, it's all been delayed. It's been too little too late, and that has meant a lot of Russian soldiers have lost their lives because of the obsession of their leadership. They're just pawns. But let's think about Neptune going direct, and let's also think about Pluto returning to Aquarius, because Zelensky is an Aquarius. He's got a very Aquarius chart. So some of the betrayals and disappointments that he's been experiencing and his compatriots have been experiencing, and anyone who's invested in the utter cruelty that's been invested upon them by the Russian leadership, would be really wanting Neptune going direct to be a precursor of something more hopeful to come. Which brings us to the 30th of March next year, because that is when Neptune moves into Aries. But it's on the coattails of a glorious solar eclipse, the last in a series in the sign of Aries, between Aries and Libra. And this one is also very close to Venus. Now, Venus is technically debilitated in Aries, but it is a go for it influence. I personally always like people who've got Venus in Aries. They say what they want, and that's where we have to challenge the debilities in terms of the essential dignities, because sometimes we can make things work for us. So Neptune's coming in to Aries on the back of that, and I'm sharing the event chart as he does, and you can see that Venus is actually going through a retrograde, so it's just tucked up in the sign of Pisces, and it's very, very close to Mercury. Now actually, when those two are together, that can be lovely. In this connection, Venus is exalted, Mercury is debilitated, but you can see that Mercury is very close to Neptune. So if we have the view that Neptune moving into Aries will be a panacea, we're probably mistaken, because Mercury in the sign of Pisces is going to still suffer with a lack of clarity. Remember, the sign of Pisces is limitless. We do have the planet of limits, which is Saturn, still in the sign of Pisces at this stage of the year. It's going to move into Aries on the 26th of May. So we also have the North Node very close to the position of Mercury and Venus too. Now, if we were talking about a natal chart, we're only about 2.5 degrees away from the North Node being conjunct Neptune, so that would be hugely symbolic. So if Mercury wasn't there, I do think this would be a much more positive event on its own merits. It's still linking terrifically well with Pluto, of course, not exactly, but close enough to start picking up that energy in terms of Pluto and Neptune being in the fire sign of Aries. But having Mercury there, I feel, can still create a degree of confusion. So remember, this is just the first blush of Neptune moving into Aries, and that's why I feel that we have to set our expectations a little bit lower. So in terms of what Neptune can represent in Aries, it can be about new beginnings, because Aries is the first degree, the vernal point of the new cycle of life, because Western tropical astrology particularly is predicated on the seasons. But anything to do with philosophy and religions may need to go through a reset, and in some ways I think a lot of us would say, well, that could be an extremely positive thing. We can be still very highly sensitive to our environment and the influences of other people, but our imagination is going to be flamed up. It's going to be much more creative in Aries, rather than more to do with being receptive, because the sign of Pisces, after all, is the sign of emotional and spiritual culmination, whereas Aries is the beginning of the journey. So although this year is just under 8 months, it is the beginning, but we still need to be mindful that it probably won't be until January 2026 that it's going to start to gain traction in a truly meaningful way. Now, one of the issues, as I hinted before, about Neptune in Pisces has been the amount of escapism. And, you know, we all need a degree of escapism. Sometimes when we're finishing videos here, and I'll say to Elisa, oh, I just got to have a pint. And it's great to have a couple of pints, relax a little bit, move the moment. And that kind of escapism, a nice cup of tea, a piece of cake, good chat, reading a nice book, watching a film, they're all perfectly pleasant and, you know, within realistic boundaries. But Pisces doesn't really do boundaries. So when we get into the escapism that has developed, we've got a huge problem with the amount of prescription drugs to heal the inner pain. But all we can do is heal the symptoms. We have to understand what causes the root of the pain. And of course, there has been a lot of escapism through street drugs that have been pumped in by nefarious players around the world, mainly because of money, of course, with absolutely no concern for the impact on the social fabric of society, which has been shocking, awful. It's broken things down in a really terrible way. So what we could get with Neptune moving to Aries, particularly because Aries is a masculine energy, even though Neptune is a male planet, what we are going to get is a more vigorous pushback of trying to find ways to marshal these not really very good strands of society. But we've also seen a lot of to-ing and fro-ing between victimhood, and that can be through addiction, but it also can be to do with who inflicts pain on other people. And of course, one of the ways to deal with that is to lock people up, lock them up as long as we can, but still we're not understanding why society creates people who feel hurt enough to, or feel the need or have to in some ways, use aggression or force to steal, to cheat. And of course, cheating is a big part of Neptune. But Neptune isn't just about criminality. Neptune is definitely about who holds the levers of power, because they will use one of the great things, sorry, my pet subject, Russia, they will use propaganda in an incredibly powerful way. And as I've often said, we're now in the post-truth age. Just the nefarious attitudes of criminality around drugs, guns, robberies, social breakdown and so on, control. It is also to do with the control of the governmental message or the business message. And of course, Neptune can disguise the real motive, because it's a very subtle influence in some ways, quite insidious. So we need to scrutinize information in a much more structured way. And that's why when we have Neptune combining with Saturn, angling back to the position of Pluto, and then of course with Uranus, the golden triangle, that starts to develop from the last week of May when Saturn moves into the sign of Aries. It's going to go on through to the end of August as far as Saturn's concerned. So Saturn can provide more containment, which is difficult for Saturn in Pisces because Saturn and Pisces just don't go together. Saturn is about boundaries, Pisces isn't. So we could see more containment. We're going to see some fresh approaches across those months. And because Uranus in Gemini for 4 months is going to see some very exciting forms of communication developing, perhaps at a pace that we may not even be able to envisage at this juncture. But somewhere people are working on technology at such a pace, it's all going to be coming. We can resist, of course, and there are certain parts of modern technology which, you know, we have every right to be quite fearful about in terms of AI, robotics, automation. But we have had all these technologies come through in the past, but just in different ways. So what we can use Neptune and Aries to do is to find a higher purpose, to escape all the pain and suffering of Neptune in Pisces. And there may have been some very profound benefits of Neptune in Pisces in terms of the expansion of, say, different types of care, different types of treatments, and we are seeing a big debate, particularly in the United Kingdom, about assisted dying. And do you know, in some ways, Neptune in Pisces coming to the end of its journey is very much to do with that, because of course Pisces is the end of the journey in terms of the Zodiac and in terms of passing over and raising up, if that's your particular belief. So I feel we have an opportunity, especially with Neptune linking to Pluto, the Zodiac's 2 slowest moving planets. We're going to see right through to 2040 some radical changes whilst that sextile continues. And this is going to have an impact on us en masse, because Pluto in Aquarius is the sign of the collective. And we are going to see younger leaders come through who are more dynamic, who are more interested in trying to unify people, perhaps through metaphysical subjects, perhaps through things like clairvoyance and research, because, of course, Neptune can be very much to do with those things. So we can see some new beginnings, but I feel that that conjunction with Mercury is really telling. It's not necessarily going to be flowing along with the clarity. We're not going to see the instant results we might like, but we could see some encouraging new developments. And I'm going to go through each of the 12 zodiac signs now, from Aries through to Pisces, to give you a flavour of what I feel you can expect in year 2025 in terms of your ascendant sun or the moon. But if you've yet to watch your deep dive year 2025 forecast for each of the 12 signs, please see the link beneath this video. So Aries, I feel Neptune arriving in your sign is truly very powerful and important in a very positive way. Once Saturn pitches up on the 26th of May to join up with Neptune through to the end of August, you're going to feel the force even more, because of course Saturn can box the mysterious energy of Neptune in a potentially more constructive manner. But we also have to be aware that Saturn in your sign is in its fall, because your sign is about fresh beginnings, it's about initiative, it's about going for it when you get the instinct, which of course is very Neptunian, where Saturn's much more to do with being very cautious, perhaps even somewhat ponderous, checking things out to such a degree that we could blink and miss that opportunity because we're taking too much time. But of course it's all to do with balance, and Pluto in your 11th house is urging you to think about the long term. And once Uranus moves on the 7th of July for 4 months into Gemini, the pace of life is going to electrify for you. But at the moment, And it will seem like it at times during year 2025. There's a sense that some things are beginning for you, but other things are still coming to quite a profound close, or you're dealing with some very deep stuff, maybe of an emotional, spiritual or psychological nature. Strands like betrayal. You know, the people who once were part of your world may not still be the part of your world they once were, because Saturn, in quite a tough way, could be rooting out some of those fair weather friends, or it could be making you want to detach and move away and withdraw from situations or people that you feel are just too wounding for you. So because the eclipse series that's coming in 2025 is actually going to apply across the signs of Virgo and Pisces continually with Saturn and Neptune, ironically, that is going to be a challenge for you if there are still parts of your situation that you haven't come to terms with. But if you're someone who's been doing a lot of inner work, knows who you are, knows who your life story is, worked very hard in terms of coming to terms, understanding and releasing, giving yourself compassion for some of the things that haven't worked out. Perhaps even forgiving, even though it can be very hard to do, not forgetting, forgiving some of the betrayals, because actually it's not always about how we are, it's about how other people are. And even though it's, again, hugely hard to do, the less personal we take it, the more it frees up our energy to move into the present. So you have a huge opportunity, certainly from the end of May, to move into that present. And of course, with the solar eclipse in your sign on the 29th of March, electrifying the sky over the next 6 months, if there is something new and exciting you want to invest your time, energy and heart in and passion in, because remember, fire brings passion. Neptune in a spiritual way, Saturn in terms of timing, Pluto in terms of your connections and your plan, Uranus in terms of the electricity around it all. It could turn out to be, particularly through the summer months in the north or through the winter months in the south, a particularly thrilling time for you, Aries. Please order your year 2025 personal horoscope forecast. They're 30% off, but you'll also get your free gift of your Zodiac General Love Chinese and Vedic written forecast. Please see the link below for more. Taurus, for you, Neptune and Saturn moving through the sign of Pisces has been very much about your long-term plan, your higher principles, the things that are above the physical realm. So of course we all have physical goals, but there are other things that are more to do with our higher purpose. And Neptune there, therefore, is absolutely fantastic. Saturn, however, can be a bit more challenging, because Saturn may have made you more aware, despite your best hopes, of how some people you've been connected to, perhaps in your network, your friendships, your social circle, have not come up to your expectation. So one of the things that's going to happen as Neptune goes direct, if you have been feeling there's a sense of uncertainty about your long-term plan, you're not quite sure who you can rely upon, it may be that your friendship group is rock solid, it's more to do with a personal relationship or about your work. It may be about what actually does switch you on and give you that elevation to your mood. The 11th house can also be about good fortune. We don't always think about Saturn as being fortunate, so there may have been snags, particularly when both of them were in retrograde. Obviously Saturn came to the end of its retrograde in the middle of November, but now as you get this combination moving into your 12th house from the 30th of March with Neptune, but also with the solar eclipse just before, and then Saturn from the 26th of May, that could be a big time for you, because if you've been thinking about it, discussing certain things, you could find yourself really wanting to take some action in terms of ending some things which no longer serve your greater good. And because stability, continuity are so important for you, even though Pluto in your 9th house and Uranus in your own sign have changed a lot for you, and you've probably surprised yourself by what you've learned, how you've travelled, how you've expanded your world in a way that may have been really not something you could have imagined many years ago, when having that sense of regularity was so important to you. But there may be more that you need to work on, but it may be in terms of your inner world. So we can think about how other people impact upon us, but I think the big story of year 2025 for you is going to be about learning to tune in to what your inner voice is telling you, and that can have an impact on how you earn money. Uranus in the 2nd house from the 7th of July for 4 months could be something new and fresh, and because Pluto's in your 10th house, you may need to reorientate your ambitions in a way which reflects your inner self and your inner needs much more instinctively. Please order your year 2025 personal horoscope forecast. They're 30% off, but you'll also get your free gift of your Zodiac General Love Chinese and Vedic written forecast. Please see the link below for more. So Gemini, if you do have planets or positions really late in the sign of Gemini or any other zodiac sign, Neptune's retrograde could have been quite a tough hoe when it comes to things like your work, your worldly interaction. Maybe you've been involved in an organisation where it seems the expectation kept shifting, but no one was given very clear leadership. It may have been that you've been in a situation where you've had to give a lot of yourself in terms of compassion and sacrifice, maybe like health or hospital type roles, anything to do with social care, but the demands may have been very high, particularly with Saturn in that part of your chart. But then again, Saturn, having moved into your 10th house in March 2023, may have pushed you more into the limelight. You may have actually worked very, very hard and achieved some kind of breakthrough, but Neptune at times may have seen you really appreciate the gaze of that attention, but at other times it may have seemed to have been a little bit empty and vacuous. So what does it mean this year with the two of them, but particularly Neptune moving into your 11th house? Well, ambition's all very well, isn't it? We can have a tangible asset which gives us a sense of our success. For example, a big property, a large car, lots of money behind us. But if our spiritual dimension isn't working very well, that can feel really very, very lonely. So one of the things that Neptune moving into your 11th house from the end of March is going to do for those just under 8 months is ask you to elevate your thinking above the physical realm to get that sense of meaning and purposefulness, but particularly around where you can make connections to others. Now, you can be someone with a vast gift to pivot and get on with all sorts of different types of people, but you have been at times feeling the energy of Uranus in your 12th house, which may have made sleep elusive, or it may have seen you felt a little ragged or tetchy at times or exhausted. But once Uranus moves into your sign on the 7th of July for 4 months, linking back to both the positions of Saturn and Neptune, and then back in the golden triangle to Pluto, it really could be a wonderful stellar period for you, literally. Also, Jupiter moves out of your sign on the 9th of June into your sector of everyday resources. But do have realistic expectations. There will be some astrologers, particularly on YouTube, I feel, telling you that you're going to make a fortune. But when Jupiter moves into Cancer, where it is exalted, to be fair, it does square with Saturn. So maybe the money will be there, but maybe there could be some kind of big moral decision to make about how you get it. But essentially, Neptune moving into the 11th house is seeing you wanting to elevate your connections, your understanding beyond that physical plane. And it could, for you in particular, be quite a sensational year, but you will still have activity going on in House 10, because all the eclipses across the sign of Pisces 10 and Virgo 4, because they're polar opposites, are going to be in some way or another impacted. I didn't want to use the word afflicted, certainly impacted by both Saturn and Neptune, despite the time they're spending in Aries. So there's still going to be some stuff going on in terms of your work, but maybe you're going to orientate within that towards people you feel most comfortable with, or where there is something that goes above just earning the money, doing a good job. However skilled you are in that particular sector, you want something that has some kind of higher spiritual purpose. Please order your year 2025 personal horoscope forecast. They're 30% off, but you'll also get your free gift of your Zodiac General Love Chinese and Vedic written forecast. Please see the link below for more. So Cancer, for you, the last 5 months of Neptune retrograde could have seen a certain amount of confusion around contractual matters, anything to do with waiting for the outcome of discussions. If you have wanted or have in fact travelled, there may have been a mesmeric experience, but also there may have been some realities that felt rather challenging because of Saturn being in the 9th house. So, but since 2012, you've certainly tripped the light fantastic. You may have expanded your knowledge, perhaps professionally in terms of education, perhaps with skills in terms of a job, but you probably have really found yourself on a voyage which has been very, very exciting, especially if you're really interested in healing or the arts. You may have moved. 9th house is very much about travel as well in the physical sense, but of course the 9th house can be about our minds, so your ideas, your ideology may have altered too, but some of that may over the last 5 months have lost a little bit of appeal because of Saturn like providing a handbrake to the energy of Neptune, but also maybe information has been hard to get, and especially if you are a Cancer, so early born Cancers 1 or 2 degrees may have felt a little bit unsure of where the land lays. So what's going to happen with Neptune moving into the sign of Aries is that's going to, along with the solar eclipse and the arrival of Saturn, see new opportunities as far as your employment situation is concerned. Now, Jupiter moving into your sign is not something to turn your nose up against, just because it is going to be in a square with Saturn. So when Jupiter moves in and we have that exact moment, the event chart for the following year, it won't be quite as positive as it could have been if Saturn wasn't applying in the square. Then they come into an exact square on June the 15th. But essentially Jupiter moving into your sign a once in 12-year opportunity to reset. So you can reset, but it won't necessarily be without some challenges, but it may definitely be to do with how you connect to the wider world. So new job, new career, starting your own business, and that could be very, very exciting for you. But because of Uranus moving for 4 months from the 7th of July, it could also be a little bit testing, especially if it's a new way of earning money. And all of that's possible too with Pluto in the 8th house. But I think your professional situation, your worldly connection, your goals and ambitions is what Neptune can inspire you around, but Saturn can provide some reality. And as ever with Saturn, it's all about application, perspiration in order to achieve any kind of success. Please order your year 2025 personal horoscope forecast. They're 30% off, but you'll also get your free gift of your Zodiac General Love Chinese and Vedic written forecast. Please see the link below for more. So Leo, over the last 5 months, joint financial affairs, anything to do with entrepreneurship, your long-term financial planning, all of that may have felt a little fuzzy, a bit confusing, a bit bogged down, lack of clarity. In fact, it might have been quite hard going, especially if you're in business for yourself. And of course, things that affect us all, interest rates, the cost of borrowing, the cost of living, has a direct impact on our long-term financial security. So all of that with Neptune retrograde, not easy, but it going direct, but then moving into your 9th house next year is going to see you go on a voyage. And the interesting thing about your sign, yes, you are ruled by the sun. Yes, you can be immensely charismatic. Yes, you do like to feel that people respect you. Who doesn't? But it is quite important for Leo people, because the radiance of your sign needs to draw in some way, even if you do it quietly or more overtly, attention. But because the 8th house is very deep and devotional, and Neptune's been there since 2012, and Pluto's been in the 6th house, very much to do with practicalities. You've sacrificed a lot over those years since 2008. But Pluto's now in the 7th house, relationships. So Neptune and Saturn and the solar eclipse in Aries are all pushing you towards a voyage of discovery, of expanding your life in some kind of way. And with Uranus also moving into your 11th house, Uranus has been pushing and provoking you to try some different approaches with work in recent years. But now you're going to have more confidence, I feel, to really head out in a more individual way, because that's the key. Leo people can have a surprising need for collaboration, considering the sun rulership of your sign. So if there's something that you want to do that's more daring, whether you can do it collaboratively or you can do it more independently, this is going to be an exciting year, because the fire triplicity of your sign is going to be lit up, magnified in such a potent way. And really, obviously, once Jupiter returns to your sign in 2026, it's a series of green lights for you in terms of the progress you can make. But this year is priming things up, so you may learn some new skills, you'll likely travel more, you might have some conversations over contracts for sure, the 9th house. But the 7th house does suggest that if you can work with people, but inspired people, and in so doing have a broader approach to your existence, it's going to lift what has been a time of huge sacrifices for you for some years past. Please order your year 2025 personal horoscope forecast. They're 30% off, but you'll also get your free gift of your Zodiac General Love Chinese and Vedic written forecast. Please see the link below for more. So relationships, Virgo, may have been a little challenging, not just with Neptune's retrograde, but with Saturn's retrograde too, because having both of them, maybe Neptune has enchanted you since 2012. You may have had someone come into your world who really has been so profoundly important, but equally there may have been disappointments over the last couple of years, with Saturn in the 7th house asking some much firmer questions. Maybe it's other people who've been making more demands upon you. And Saturn's been asking you to really set your boundaries, but at the same time keep your humanity through Neptune. So the two retrogrades haven't been easy for you around relationships. But what can you expect with Neptune now going forwards? Well, clearly if you are born towards the end of Virgo, you will have felt that drifting, dreaming, confusing energy much more keenly. So the direct energy will help to dissipate some of that uncertainty. But next year, that big energy between Neptune and Saturn in the 8th house, that's where you're diving deep. You're making an even more profound connection. It's very much the sector of devotion, but of course it can also be the sector of evolution. And with Pluto in the mix, in the part of your chart that asking or telling you in a way that some practical strands of your situation will need to change, even if you've been very invested in a particular quite metronomic structure for some time that's worked for you. Pluto, along with that 8th house energy and Uranus going to the top of your chart, suggests that how you earn money, how connected you are to certain individuals, that's going to be the big area of change and shifting. Now, if you are someone who's very, very interested in developing new ideas to earn money, to be more entrepreneurial. The 8th house could be very, very exciting for you, particularly with Uranus in house 10. But the 6th house suggests that it may require to let go of some of the routines that have felt very safe and comfortable. You could also find that other people's connection to you makes more demands in a way. The 8th house for me is all in or all out. When we're all in and another person is as well, it's one of the most awesome feelings in the world, whether it's in a team situation through a sport, whether it's something we're really passionate about, and we can discuss that with someone who has an equal amount of investment in that topic, or it is in a romantic or spiritual sense. But when we don't get that back, that's not so good, and that could be some of the lesson that Saturn and Neptune particularly do reveal, unfortunately, next year. But it is an opportunity to evolve and learn from that. And even if you're feeling that you're not getting back what you want from certain situations, it could still be you who makes the final decision to cut away and release yourself from something that's not going to give you what you truly need. Please order your year 2025 personal horoscope forecast. They're 30% off, but you'll also get your free gift of your Zodiac General Love Chinese and Vedic written forecast. Please see the link below for more. So Libra, for you, physical vitality may have been on the low side, particularly once Pluto returned back into Capricorn on the 2nd of September. Now, of course, Pluto is back in Aquarius now, which is a good green light, but you still have got Neptune in your 6th house through till the end of March, and Saturn's going to be there too. And also they're going to be impacted in a big way in the coming year by the eclipse series and the nodal axis. So balancing that inner part of your world, which is the 12th house energy of Virgo, against the more practical dimension of Pisces, that's still going to be part of this coming year's story. But I feel that once Neptune goes into the sign of Aries and you have that solar eclipse at the end of March, joined by Saturn, 26th of May, it's all about relationships. And what's your sign about? Relationships. But of course Saturn is kind of no, whereas the 7th house in a way is trying to find that point of accord. So the good thing about it for you is you could set your boundaries more firmly with Saturn's help, but of course Neptune can dissolve them as well. So it's a complex interplay. The fact that they're linking back brilliantly to Pluto does give you more opportunities than challenges. It just depends if you're in a relationship where you've been especially sacrificing and put the other person perhaps not first, but you have been a bit of a people pleaser. Well, that is quite a Libran trait. But if at times you've been feeling that you've given your power away or people have taken you for granted, then Saturn's going to have something to say about that. But at the same time, Neptune's asking you to still keep the dialogue open. So that's what makes it such a delicate situation. But if you're single and you want to bring someone into your world, I think the next year can be very, very exciting for you, but especially from the end of March. Please order your year 2025 personal horoscope forecast. They're 30% off, but you'll also get your free gift of your Zodiac General Love Chinese and Vedic written forecast. Please see the link below for more. Scorpio, for you, the Neptune-Saturn combination, but particularly Neptune's more recent retrograde, may have created some confusion around your love life. Maybe it's been around your creativity. Maybe you haven't quite had that sense of drive that Neptune's been inspiring you to embrace since 212. Saturn can act like a handbrake. Saturn in the 5th house isn't a bunch of laughs, and yet the 5th house can be very sociable. So it may have made you more serious about the people you socialise with, made you more serious about spending time with your kids if you've got any. So it can work in a beneficial way, but generally I feel that your social interaction may have not been so appealing to you over the last 4 or 5 months. But once Neptune first and then Saturn move into Aries along with that solar eclipse at the end of March. Very much about practicalities. Practicalities works brilliantly for Saturn, perhaps a little more subtly challenging for Neptune, because for Neptune the sixth house can be very, very sacrificing, but that's not great if we end up giving too much. But also because of Pluto, your modern ruler, applying to them, it could be you're going to change somehow where you live or how you live there, adapt it to make it more practically efficient to suit your needs. So that could, in terms of work, the sixth house and your physical health, be working more locally, working even from home, the comfort of your abode. And you are going to have Jupiter, the planet of travel, moving into a very expansive part of your situation from the 9th of June. It's just that there may be some responsibilities and obligations that make it difficult to really get away as much as you'd like. So I feel in general, year 2025 with Neptune, it's going to ask you to try to refine some practicalities in your life. And that means being open, sensitive, Neptune, but at the same time not too stuck in a situation where you're giving a lot of your physical and emotional energy away. Please order your year 2025 personal horoscope forecast. They're 30% off, but you'll also get your free gift of your Zodiac General Love Chinese and Vedic written forecast. Please see the link below for more. So Sagittarius, home, family, emotional issues may have been particularly draining the last 5 or 6 months, not just because of Neptune, but also because of Saturn too, both in house 4. You're a free spirit. The more you can be spontaneous, do things off the cuff. You love variety. You love space and independence, but your life's changing. It's changing in a way which is perhaps bringing a greater rootedness in, and you're aware of that. You're aware of the benefits, but it also creates some conflicts too, or has been. So if you've been looking out for someone in your family who's older and perhaps needed a lot of support, if you've been in a property that hasn't really worked for you and you've been feeling a bit trapped, perhaps it's in an environment you don't like, too quiet, too noisy, it's too small, too large, the kids have flown the nest. Whatever it is, home, family, emotion have been the topics of challenge with this retrograde. With it going direct, and particularly with it moving into your Aries at the end of March, but particularly with that solar eclipse towards the end of March as well, that's flaming you up in a really dynamic and positive way. Pluto back in Aquarius, linking to them. Your communication, a big part of your nature, is really turned up. Your passion is lit up. But Saturn and passion, well, yes, you can have Saturn and passion. Saturn just asks us to be passionate about something that's meaningful, that can bring something into our world that helps us to build or define. And Uranus in your 7th house from July the 7th could bring some very dramatic developments in terms of your love life, if that's what you'd like to have. So a thrilling time is ahead in lots of ways. You're also going to be asked to make sure that you're tapping into your innate vat of talent and creativity, but also expressing it in the best way possible, because if you're not really feeling that you are at the moment, you get a series of green flags next year to go, but particularly over those summer months in the north and the winter months in the southern hemisphere. Please order your year 2025 personal horoscope forecast. They're 30% off, but you'll also get your free gift of your Zodiac General Love Chinese and Vedic written forecast. Please see the link below for more. Capricorn, I think it's pretty true to say the last 5 or 6 months with both Neptune and Saturn in retrogrades in your 3rd house, there may have been times when communications just seemed a little bit challenging. Maybe just having the discourse, we get so overwhelmed by so much information these days. There may have been times, quite rightly, when you just wanted to tune out. Good for you if so. Create some moments of peace and tranquility. The third house for Neptune can be very good for that. Saturn, however, means that perhaps there's been at times some cooler exchanges with other people or complete misunderstandings. But the third house is also where we can generate a sense of excitement. So Neptune going direct will make that easier. Saturn, your ruler, still is going to make you far from frivolous. You're wanting to understand what the benefits are. You're in an Earth sign. Totally understandable. You've also got Pluto in house 2 now, making you much more conscious of your value, your worth, but also the need for solid financial foundations. So once those two guys started with Neptune linking with the solar eclipse in the latter part of March, flame up with that fire energy, what you're thinking about most of all is where you live, how you live there, who with. Neptune brings a degree of idealism to that situation. Do you want to move somewhere that's more peaceful, tranquil, quieter, very Neptunian, near the sea, near a lake, a river, somewhere that really heals your senses? But Saturn, from the end of May, will bring the parameters into play. Can you afford it? What's feasible? Will it fit with work? Kids' education, if you've got them, so forth and so on. However, I feel generally speaking, you're going to start a journey which you get a taste of in 2025 that is going to be much deeper and more profound, about perhaps just wanting to draw your life in a little bit and focus on where you get some quite simple, and I don't mean that you're simple, but simple parts of your needs met. Because if you've been very much a striver, and sometimes Capricorns can be, I feel that you're going to tune back into a more inner dimension, which could be very profound and very exciting, but you will get an understanding of that much more clearly, I believe, from the early part of 2026, because this coming year is still going to be a lot to do with communication, and Neptune's pushing you to stay open-minded, and Saturn also, because it's applying along with Neptune to a series of eclipses in this coming year, just try to not let fear, Saturn, inhibit the flow of communication going backwards and forwards, because there's a lot to gain from connecting to others, sharing information, ideas, and really being open to expansion. So for a sign that is generally very cautious, safety first, maybe even a little bit suspicious, just try to keep those lines of communication open, because all of that's going to help you to build the potential for you to find that inner world from the summer months in the north, the winter in the south, that is going to become much more important over the next few years. Please order your year 2025 personal horoscope forecast. They're 30% off, but you'll also get your free gift of your Zodiac General Love Chinese and Vedic written forecast. Please see the link below for more. Aquarius, your finances over the last 6 months or so may have been quite the challenge. It's just not Neptune's retrograde, it's also Saturn, your traditional rulers. Saturn's been applying a lot of scrutiny to your expenditure, but also your values, what's important in terms of your root foundation, and you may have had to simplify things over the last couple of years. But Neptune, previous to that, since 2012, may have made you hugely generous, compassionate, especially around good causes, and that's great. But Saturn's come along with a real dose of harsh reality, I feel, for a lot of Aquarius people, and the world is as it is. You know, the cost of living has gone up. But because you've also been working with Pluto in your 12th house, that's been a huge experience since 2008. But you're now in the present with Pluto in house 1, going to be there for the long term through to 243 initially, and then 244. So that's a big, long, exciting journey ahead. But having Neptune first, the solar eclipse, and Saturn move into house 3, Uranus into 5, it's all fabulous for next year if You keep working at what you've learned over the last couple of years in terms of valuing yourself, who you are, what you stand for, valuing your experience, skills and worth, very, very important, but also simplifying your life, cutting down on frivolous spending, which is not really essential. That's still going to be important with a potentially, and I do use this word advisedly because you'll know if you watch me quite a bit, I don't use words without a degree of care, but I think there still could be challenges because of Saturn and Neptune applying to the eclipse series over the next year, even though they're going into Aries. But then it's all about the communication. What are you? A communicator. Uranus moves into Gemini, an air sign. Third house with the Aries energy, fifth house, glorious, warm, with the Gemini energy, and Pluto's linking it all together. Sensational for you, very, very exciting. Things can speed up. A lot of your ideas and ideologies are going to be catching on. The age of Aquarius is really taking shape, but still stay with the lessons of balancing the books. That's still going to be part of the story in the coming year. But your words, your ideas are going to impact on far more people in the next year. Please order your year 2025 personal horoscope forecast. They're 30% off, but you'll also get your free gift of your Zodiac General Love Chinese and Vedic written forecast. Please see the link below for more. So Pisces, because Neptune is your ruler, has been in retrograde, and if you are born in the latter part of the month, or you do have energies or positions from around about 6 degrees up to about 16, which Saturn's been impacting, probably has been a time when you've really had to strive to clarify what's important to you, the individual. Now, Pluto moving into 12 can be complex. I'll tell you more about that as time goes on. It's a deep journey that's going to unfold, a deep journey of discovering more about who you are. But once Neptune and Saturn move into your second house, it's about taking some of the things you've been working on as an individual and trying to get the foundations in place. It might not all happen in 2025 because Neptune can shimmer. It's not necessarily going to be completely concreted in. And even if you put the concrete down, the moisture of Neptune won't necessarily let it harden off. So if you do try to get something new in place, it might not be quite lasting. You can have the joyfulness that comes with Jupiter moving into 5, but that's asking you to be very conscious of not being too frivolous with money. And because the eclipse series this year and the nodal axis are in your sign and your opposite sign, getting that balance between what you need and understanding what other people need and getting that sweet spot in between that works for you both is still going to be the challenge. But if there are people in your world who don't respect you, who don't share your values, or who don't reward you in a way that you're worthy of, particularly at work, this is a year, especially once Uranus moves in the 7th of July for 4 months, when you may find yourself trying to find a new and fresh position which works much more splendidly for you. It's been great spending time with you sharing this Neptune video. Please do check out your year 2025 deep dive forecast for each of the 12 zodiac signs by clicking on the link below.